one of the things about it that I've been thinking about, and I know we probably both have a lot to talk about today, Carter, but I was going over some of this with I was talking about some of this with my fella, and we were talking about how there seems to be hopefully this mass exodus happening towards places like MeWe, Parler, Wimkin, but he's been engaging in some conversations with friends of his on the left who are kind of in the dark about mass censorship and haven't been paying attention. And I just want to give a little case study in what happens, because let's take a company like Gab. Okay, if you have friends on the left, first of all, a couple things you can expect. They're going to start to say Parler, because a lot of them are asking, what's Parler? I see people going there. I mean, again, imagine NPCs who are just not in the loop. They don't know anything about censorship. They probably voted for Biden. They don't even realize there was a mass purge that happened after 2016 of all of these big fish who they thought had influenced the election. They don't know.
It's completely believable to them that Biden got more votes than Obama. It's,
they believe that. They believe that. They believe that Biden got more votes than Obama. They believe it. But so they are like, what's Parler? And they're starting to check it out. Okay, well, get ready. In the next few days, they're going to do it fast. They're going to start to attack Parler in the mainstream media and in the legacy media. They're going to start to call Parler a right-wing site full of white supremacists. How do we know this? They did it to Gab already. So Gab, if you're not familiar, Gab was started by a guy in Silicon Valley, Andrew Torba, I think is his name. He's in Silicon Valley. He left. He was a Trump supporter back in 2016. He left. He called some of these people out. He had principles. He said, I'm going to go do my own thing. I'm moving to Texas. He moved to Texas. He started Gab. Gab is, like Parler, an alternative to Twitter. What these social media companies usually do is they try and, well, first of all, they all collude. Okay, they all collude. So when they did the unpersoning of Alex Jones, Laura Loomer, Milo Yiannopoulos, Gavin McInnes, Paul Joseph Watson, that whole list of people they had, when they did that, they did it at once across platforms. The only place that held out on Alex Jones was Twitter. Twitter held out for a few days. Maybe there was some internal disagreement there. Jack or somebody might have disagreed. They basically said, we're still investigating Alex Jones. We consider ourselves a free speech platform. We're going to give it a couple of days, right? One of the
he was mad at Zuckerberg for serving him meat or something at their dinner that he went
to.
Yeah, probably. I'm waiting 3 days. Screw you, Mark.
Yeah, screw you. So one of the most chilling things I saw happen during that couple of day delay before Twitter also unpersoned Alex Jones was one of my friends on the left, a liberal who I've known since college, smart guy, smart, funny, reasonable, someone I trust, has liberal values. He started circulating a petition online to get Alex Jones banned from Twitter. He's like, they banned him from all these other platforms, but they didn't do it from Twitter yet. Let's add your name, liberals and leftists. Let's get him banned. And I had a private conversation with him. And I said, I messaged him. I'm like, I don't understand why you're doing this. You're a liberal. Why are you trying to get him banned from Twitter? It's chilling to me that you would be doing this and thinking this is a liberal thing to do. It's not. And he basically said, I think he's a conspiracy theorist and I think he spreads harm and danger, whatever. First of all, I don't necessarily agree with that, but let's say I do. Let's say I agree with that. It still doesn't matter. You're trying to silence a voice from the marketplace of ideas, from what functions as the public square, and he tried to give an analogy and say, well, if I had a party, I wouldn't invite him to speak. I wouldn't have him at my party. I'm like, that's a bad analogy. Twitter's not a small party. There's millions of parties happening on Twitter. You don't have to follow him. You don't have to retweet him. You don't have to engage with him. But to say he can't have a party in the public square, he can't have a voice, which is what you're doing. Let's silence him from the remaining platform that hasn't done it yet. That is not a liberal thing to do. And don't try and hide behind I'm protecting people from the harm of hearing ideas or even conspiracy theories or even from hearing things that may not be true. They have to make up their mind on, I'm protecting people. No, you're not. You're acting as a tyrant. You're acting as an authoritarian. Liberals don't do that. That was chilling. And so flash forward to today, you're starting to see people on the left come out with the same justifications. They're going to start hearing that Parler is right wing. They're going to start hearing we need to censor these other alternative platforms, while at the same time saying, well, if you don't like it, start your own social media company. If you don't like it, start your own. Here's what happened to Gab. He started his own alternative to Twitter. They couldn't buy him up because they do buy up. Facebook bought up Instagram. They buy up competitors and then they own them. And then they enact the same censorship on those competitors that they had on their platform. They couldn't buy Gab up. So what did they do? You can go and look this up. They got the people in the media who are also part of the same cult to do hit pieces on Gab. And now if you look up Gab, what do you find? Oh, Gab. Oh, Gab's full of white nationalists. Gab, it's so right wing. It's full of alt-right, scare words, white nationalist scare words. What does that do? That prevents, for a couple things. It prevents liberals from wanting to join because they believe this. They believe this lie, this slander. They believe it. The second thing it does is it gives the needed justification for other companies to make it harder for Gab to take off. So first of all, they're competing against a place like Twitter, which itself is a David and Goliath battle. To try it, your chances of competition with a company like that are infinitesimally small. They're so small to begin with. So that's one level. You've got the fight for competition, right? But then on top of it, you've got the fight in the press that's smearing you. And then on top of that, you've got the fight at all these other levels. So what happened with Gab? Their app was not allowed in the App Store. All these companies collude. Apple Store, Google Play Store, both denied their app. Well, first they made them jump through a lot of hoops. They kept saying, well, if you just jump through these hoops, we'll approve your app. Apple would say to Gab, hey, we scoured your website and we found some random hateful Gabs. We found some hateful Gabs posted by some random people, and this is why we're not approving you. You need to get rid of stuff like this. When Gab was like, well, okay, well, we just went to Twitter and we found some random hateful tweets from random tweeters. They do the same. That's on their platform too. How are you going to hold us to a different standard? Apple's like, we're going to hold you to that different standard. So they kept having to jump through these hoops, but Apple never intended to let them get their app in the store. They didn't let them get their app in the store. They just kept making them jump through these pointless hoops. Same thing with Google Play Store. You can't get the Gab app. Okay, then what happened? All the press against them. Oh, Gab's so white nationalist. Gab's so scary. Then
even
PayPal
Apple doesn't
says,
let them have their yeah.
Even Apple won't even look at this. Even Apple won't let them have because they're so scary. They won't let them have their app in the store. Then what happens? PayPal says, hey, you're a risk. PayPal and Stripe say, we're not going to let you do payment processing through us. Can you imagine that? It's like your bank saying, sorry, no, you can't bank with us. We're not going to let you do payment processing. They went to a Bitcoin alternative. Then what happened? That Bitcoin alternative said, hey, we're not going to let you do payment processing through us either. Then their web hosting company. So you got all these other levels of censorship. They're fighting battles on every conceivable level. Their web hosting platform says you can't host with us. You're too much of a risk. Why? Because of these hit pieces against you. Because we don't want to be associated with you. Do you think that's not going to happen to Parler? It's already happening. Back in June, Parler CEO said they got a notice from Apple that said, we don't know. Now, I imagine at Apple, they're like, why did we let this app through, first of all, into the Apple store? But they did. Now they're going, hey, guess what? We're not going to let you update your app. None of the people who have your app are going to be able to get updates until you start censoring on Parler in the manner that we like. That's a little story.
No,
I know that was a long one, Carter, but that's what's going to happen.
Yeah, I mean, I think in fairness, not fairness, just to be clear, the timing of when these platforms come out is very important because Gab suffered from being the first major Twitter alternative at a time when Twitter was banning the most egregious people first. Twitter didn't start by banning Mikey Harlow. They started by banning actual white supremacists. Not like there are evil, horrible people in the world who say really, really, really horrible things. When those are the people that are first banned and the alternative is basically just Gab at the time, they were a higher concentration of those people on Gab. But that's not Gab's fault. It's just because those people were the ones that were homeless and they needed someplace to go, and they went to Gab. So these platforms might actually start out populated with a disproportionately hateful group of people. But as censorship expands and as you get more and more just wrong think, now you've got a lot of people that are homeless, and they'll start to balance some of these platforms out. So I do think I don't disagree with anything you said. I think there's definitely conspiracy and all that stuff, but like there was a little bit of legitimacy. If you went on Gab early on, it was like, oh, this is kind of a cesspool. It was kind of a cesspool. Now, I still think cesspools should be allowed and part of the App Store. Like, yes. There are cesspools in the world, and you should have access to them if you want them.
Yeah.
But that's where we are. So I don't know. I don't know that they'll be able to get away with it on MeWe, and I don't know if it's Parler or Parlay, but whatever.
Parler.
Parler. Damn it.
I know it sounds like, just call it what you would like.
All right, whatever.
Honey, you do you.
On those two platforms, I don't know if they'll get away. I don't know if they'll get away with being able to claim that they're all alt-right, because I think they are already pretty they're more diverse than Gab. Let's put it that way.
They're more ideologically diverse than Gab because they came later. And you're right. Yeah. Gab was the only alternative that was emerging at the time when they were first doing mass purgings. And like you said, look at the way ecosystems work. Who's going to go there first? The first people banned.
Right.
There are definitely going to be white nationalists there. Don't follow them. Don't follow them. And don't fall for that crap. And I do believe they're going to try that with Parler though. And because I've already seen the way this ecosystem works. I've already seen people on the left saying, oh, but isn't it just a right wing alt-right? They're already putting that out there into the minds of these people who are repeating it.
Sorry, my friend is in chat who I haven't seen in a long time. I mean, not in chat. In fact, I'm surprised. Why are you even watching? Hi, S. Misanthrope. She says Gab wasn't bad early, but got worse later.
Yeah, I believe that.
Yeah, but probably my guess is you were really early to Gab. My guess is that you were there before there was mass purging of horrible people on Twitter, and they ended up taking over Gab. Gab also had some problems with porn, I think. And some weirdness, but regardless, regardless, you should be able to access your cesspool. Okay,